Welcome to Hodge, Podge, Australia. In honour of the Day of the Dead, we are making a sugar skull cake to finish off our Halloween series. Start off with 2 A4 size cakes, which are 22 centimetres by 31 centimetres, and print off this sugar skull template to A4 size. You can find this on our blog. Follow the link in the description box below. Then take some time to cut out that template from your paper, and you are simply going to trace around it on your 2 cakes and cut out your 2 skull shapes to layer it nicely. When you have cut them out and discarded of the cake that you do not need, you can put it aside later to eat with the leftover buttercream. Use some nail scissors or a craft knife if you have one to cut out the eyes from your template. You are then going to place this back on top of your cake, and using just the tip of your knife, you are going to trace around those eyes so that you have the perfect size. Otherwise, you can freehand them if you want, but I preferred to do it this way. That way I had exactly the right size of my eyes. I had the nice right spacing for it. And then you can just use a small paring knife to put a couple of lines in there to help you take off just the top layer of the cake. You're not actually cutting all the way through, so just do a little bit of a score through the eyes, and you can just remove the top layer and concave those eyes in so you get that nice eye socket shape. The next thing you want to do is get a good dose of buttercream and put a good layer in between your 2 cakes. Pop them back together and then crumb coat your cake. Give it a really good crumb coat. Make sure that you get the icing into those eye sockets so that the icing and the fondant are going to actually stick down, but you also want to make sure that you don't put too much buttercream in those eye sockets so that you don't lose the roundness and the depth of the eye sockets. I'm not actually sure how many times I could say eye sockets, but let's try it one more time. Crumb coat the outside of your cake and then pop that in the fridge to set. When you are happy with the setness of your crumb coat, if that is really a word, roll out some white fondant, and then it's time to cover your cake. So simply roll out a really good piece of your white fondant so that you don't have to really pull it down. Just drape it over the top, use your fingers to push it into the eye sockets, and then trim off all your excess once you're happy with how your fondant is laid on the cake. So cut all around the edge, get rid of any excess fondant, and then just put it aside to dry for a little while because we're about to decorate it with some royal icing. If you would like to see the royal icing recipe that I have used, the link is in the description box below with a tutorial on how to make it. Now it's time to start decorating our cake. So I'm going to use teal and black, but I'm going to paint in the eye sockets. So using a couple of drops of teal Amerigel and just a little bit of vodka, because I don't want to waste all my vodka, I'm going to mix the Amerigel together with the vodka until I have a nice smooth colour, and testing it on the paper there I can see that it is the colour that I want. I am going to paint in those eye sockets. Now try to have your brush strokes all go around the same way. So with me I'm going to go right around in circles, and I find on the second eye socket it's easier to turn the cake instead of turning my hand, but you learn as you go. So paint in those eye sockets. Now you can see that I've already drawn on some of the mouth. Now what I've done is I've just used one of my little scoring tools and I've started putting little outlines of the designs I want to do on the cake. I find this is helpful because otherwise you're just adding things that you're not sure and you run out of space, and it's just a good idea to map out your design first. Once you are finished painting in those eyes, give them a little bit of time to dry. Keep the rest of the vodka and the colour to the side because you may want to fill in a few gaps once you have put some royal icing on, and you'll certainly see that I will do that later. But so far, those are the eyes. Now using the teal and black, I'm going to start decorating. So I've got my royal icing and I'm going to start with the spider web at the top. So I had scored this and I'm just following the lines on the white fondant, and now I'm going to fill in the spider web section. Try to keep a steady hand with your royal icing. You don't want it to look all jaggedy, so you can see I'm using my extra hand there, my spare hand, just to hold my main hand steady. It just makes those lines so much neater. But I love the spider web at the top of sugar skulls. I know you can do them with flowers or diamonds and crosses and all those sorts of things, but I love that spider web look, so that's what I've gone for. I'm also going to outline my eyes with the black, and I'm going to start to go over the teeth. So I've got one straight line. Then I have added a flower design to the bottom because it's another thing that I've noticed with a lot of the sugar skulls. The thing that's really popped for me is the flower on the chin. I really love it. Adding in all the teeth with the black, simply looping, sort of a bit of like a chain. So looping that either side, and then you can start filling in because you've given the black a bit of time to dry. So using my blue, I'm going to fill in the flower at the bottom and then freestyle a heart at the base of my spider web. Adding the nose, it's sort of like an upside down heart, and I've got mine cut in half. Filling that in, it's nice and easy. Really, the good thing about sugar skulls is you can be as creative as you want, you can add as much as you want. You will notice that sugar skulls are very complicated. I'm not that complicated, and I didn't want to make a mess of my cake, so I have kept it a little bit simple. I'm going to use some plain white royal icing to fill in my teeth because that's going to really make the mouth pop. And then it is time to add a bit more decoration. I'm going to go with some more of the flowers on the cheeks. I had originally planned on doing some lines over the cheeks, which is what I had scored in earlier, but once I really looked at it, I thought it was going to end up looking like the face from those movies Saw. I've never actually seen it, but it kind of reminded me of that, so I took that out, added in the flowers. Now, I'm not sure what happened to the video of me adding the dots around the eyes, but you can see there I've just sort of done the same method as I did with the teeth all around the eyes, and then I can use the rest of my paint to fill in the sections from the difference between the royal icing and the eye sockets. Then lastly, I'm going to add in some lovely swirls onto my cake, a couple of drops underneath to fill in the chin, and that is my sugar skull cake for the Day of the Dead. I do hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I would love to see if you make this cake, how creative you go and how wild you go with those colours, because you really can just go absolutely crazy. Thanks so much for watching another tutorial, and we'll see you again real soon.